God 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 Yes, Him. Yes, Him. Yes, He is my all and all. God is. Yes, He is.
I worship you alone, blessed Savior, my God. From the depths of my heart, I'll give all praise and honor to you, O matchless King. Yeah. Worship you alone, blessed Savior, oh Lord. From the depths of my heart, yeah, I give all praise and honor to you, O matchless King. There is no one like you in all the earth. I'll praise and magnify your name. Ooh, there is no one like nobody like you, Lord. I'll praise, yeah, magnify your name. Oh Lord, I worship you, Lord. Oh Lord, I worship you, Lord. You sit on the throne. Oh, I worship you in spirit and in truth. I will worship you. I worship you alone. You deserve the glory, Jesus. You deserve the honor. You are my passion, my creator, my God. Oh, I'll give you, give you glory, yeah, to you and you alone. There is no one like in all the earth. That's why I'll praise and magnify. Oh Lord, I worship you. You sit on the throne. Hey. I worship you from the bottom of my heart and the depths Everybody lift your voice and say, oh, we love you, Jesus. We give you glory. We honor your sweet name. We declare and we decree. Oh, you alone. You alone are God. You alone are mighty. You alone are righteous. You alone are worthy of everything I am and all that is within me. Come on, bless the Lord at all times. Nobody can love like you. Nobody can heal like you do. Nobody can save like you. You are so worthy of everything that I have. We surrender all. We say, have your way. Nobody like you. We can search all over, but we never find another like you. There is nobody like you in all the earth. So I'll pray.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on
Connecting
this
the
program
community
are not
through
necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Ask Elaine, where to ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, where to ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, where to ask Elaine. Ask Elaine.
Well, welcome. This is your voice, Commissioner Elaine Lucas, Water Board, by way of the Water Board or whatever, welcoming you to another edition of Ask Elaine. I hope we're on Facebook this week. If we're not, then we're going to be on YouTube. So y'all just can switch on over. But we want to welcome everyone who's tuned in on AM, those who are on FM, and of course the glory. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope you had a good Easter. We hope that you and your family enjoyed a wonderful time together. We want to let you know that we have a very, very special guest today. Good afternoon, Ricky Crawford. He's on. He's on. He's always our first one. And Wade Horton. Hello to you. Wade, do you know all of those folks that mess with you over at the Transit Authority were over at the news conference that they did over at the water board? They were there to cheer on their friends. So they're all just a bunch of weenies, I guess is a good word to use. That's what I'm going to call weak, spineless people from now on. Weenies. That's a good one. Welcome, Randy Crawford and Kimberly Houston, Jeanette Goff. There are all these folks are in the house today. We welcome you. Y'all hit like and share to spread the word and remind people that Ask Elaine is on the air. This is the talk and information program where you get smarter. You really do every week because you learn something and you're able to take it and use it to help other people. And we certainly want to have people to get smarter. If you didn't know it, let me give the number 478-250-1444. Because when we start talking with our special guest today, we want you to call in with questions, with concerns, with just statements, statements of support, whatever, statements for information. So we are just happy to have all of you here. Wade Horton is not going to give up on that thing, because you don't put a blind man, you don't suspend a blind man from paratransit. You just don't do it. Now, Macon Transit Authority did it, and those low down dirty skunks had the nerve to come over and support my opposition at that news conference last week at the Macon Water Authority. So we got a lot of junk, a lot of sleazy stuff going on, but we're still going to push. That's not going to intimidate anybody. Do I look intimidated? We are going to follow through and try and get an investigation of the finances and the operations, as well as the misuse of purchasing cards at the Macon Water Authority. I'm there for a reason. I'm going to serve out my purpose. You elected me, and I think you wanted me to go and do the job, and I do plan to do it. So y'all don't scare me. So just cut it out. Get your act together. Do right, and you'll never hear from me. All you have to do is do right. You'll never ever hear from me, except when somebody has concern. Wade says, ain't that something? We are still going to stand our ground. I know you are. I know you are. So we're all in this together. We want to express our condolences to the families who've lost loved ones. We also want to express our salutes to all of the graduates. There's just so many folks that are graduating and moving on, and we've got to do all we can to create the very best environment for them, so that they will go to school and then they'll come back and enrich our community. That's what we've got to do. Um, and Also, those who've had weddings, those who've had births, those who've had very special, wonderful, positive occasions to happen, we want to salute you. And before I introduce our very special guest, I want to invite you to join us tomorrow. We've told my son Lenny just joined us. Good afternoon to you. Our His brother and our youngest son Al, who was 26 years old, passed away as a result of a football injury, and it's been 20 years, y'all. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it was 20 years ago. And so this year, on tomorrow at the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame, we will be doing the 20th um, scholarship awards luncheon in Al's honor. And we will be saluting and presenting scholarships to scholar athletes who also have a positive record of community service. We will be presenting them the Al Lucas Trophy, the Al Lucas Award, as well as a scholarship from the Al Lucas Foundation to help them to continue their education. Al would want it that way. And so he was a big old teddy bear, professional football player, but he loved people and got along with everybody. And he would love for us to be helping scholar athletes to go on to college. And Wade adds, did you know you had to get permission from the water authority chair to have a press conference? What a joke. Well, needless to say, when he said, I don't give you permission, I felt like I was back on the plantation, but I quickly renewed myself and snapped to attention and proceeded to the podium. And then he and a bunch of his little friends, including Macon Transit cowards, all scampered out of the room. So that. That is a joke. Our special guest today is none other than a Democrat who's running for the Public Service Commission. Now, I don't know whether you knew it or not, but there's an election coming up. And I've got the dates for you, but we have one of the candidates, and he's no stranger to the political scene. He has been out there before. He's been serving. He has done some work. So, you know how I feel about people who don't do anything and then jump out there and say they want to represent you. We send them on back home. But people who have been working in the community, who can show their work speak for them, like Daniel Blackman, we are very, very happy to have Mr. Blackman as our very special guest today. Welcome to Ask Elaine.
Oh man, you're worth the trip.
Uh,
I love being able to come down. I thank you for sharing the sentiments of the community. I have uh, three children. One plays college football, so to hear the story about the young man and the commemoration of life is very near and dear to my heart. And so I appreciate the acknowledgement because we all have children, and I don't
yeah.
care if it's 20 days or 20 years. You can't fill that void. So
That's right. That's right. So now you see who Daniel Blackman is. He's going to tell you a little bit about his background, and then he's going to tell us what the Public Service Commission does.
That's right.
And it does a whole lot more than you think it does. You just think of light bill, but there's a whole lot more
That's right.
that's involved with being a public service commissioner, commission commission.
Yeah.
No.
That's right.
All right. So, welcome to Ask Elaine. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'm from Columbus, Georgia. My father was in the military, so shout out to all the military families that listen to your show that
Yeah.
support you. But I came to Atlanta to go to Clark Atlanta University. I'm an alumnus of Clark Atlanta. My
Mhm.
wife is an alumnus of Spelman College.
Mhm.
My brother actually owns two homes in Macon. So
Oh, really?
he is helping to develop this area because he believes that, not just with affordable housing, but, he wanted to find a place to invest. He lives in
Yeah.
Cobb County, Georgia.
Yeah.
But he immediately wanted to be here. And, I've been here a lot. So I appreciate you acknowledging the fact that this isn't my first, second, or third time
Yeah.
in Macon.
Yeah.
But for those that don't know, I'm not only have done civil and human rights around elections and voting, but my career started in 2020. So 2005. So 20 years ago, when Hurricane Katrina happened,
Mhm.
that was my entry point into environmental issues, utility regulation, and federal emergency response. And when that happened, it made me understand the importance of rural communities, of our HBCUs and land grant colleges like Fort Valley. I
Right.
think it's important for us to acknowledge the impacts of environment, of public health, of safety. I met former President Biden while he was vice president with
Yeah.
President Obama, and we worked on the Clean Power Plan, which was to help to enforce regulatory practices against large polluters and fossil fuel companies. And in the process of that, I never went away. I never left rural Georgia and coastal Georgia. I worked really hard to bring resources, and I got appointed to serve as the first Black male to ever serve as a regional administrator. So I ran Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and six federally recognized tribes, and North Carolina and South Carolina as well. And that federal experience has given me an opportunity to run for the seat that I previously pursued, and an opportunity to change the way we look at our utility bills, our energy burden, and our public health.
Yeah. So he says he's run before. Oh, we've got a caller
Okay.
on the phone. Caller, Dr. Woodford, who is a member, an elected member of the Board of Education,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
called me earlier today and
Okay.
had an announcement that she needed to make. Dr. Woodford, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
That's
I'm calling a little
great.
early because I was watching the show.
That's oh yeah, that is great. And be sure that when you finish, you like and share so that others can get smarter. So tell us about the project that you are involved in, and you get to meet this young man here, Mr. Blackman, who is a candidate for the Public Service Commission, that a whole lot of people don't know that there's an
That's right.
election coming up. So we got to mention that. Um,
Yes.
and so go ahead with your announcement.
Okay. So I'm watching you and I'm listening to you on the phone. So
Uh,
should I'll talk to you from the phone then.
okay.
Okay. First of all, I want to say good afternoon to all your listeners. And introduce myself again. My name is Sandra Woodford. I am the Community Schools United Director with United Way of Central Georgia, and I serve on the Bibb County School Board as well. Right now, children in our district are taking the Milestone Standardized Test, which is a test that measures their content mastery. So while the kids are in the books, I thought this might be a good time for the rest of us to be in the books as well.
Yeah.
So on April 29th, we are asking everyone in the household of the Pleasant Hill and Fort Hill neighborhoods to turn off the television, put down the devices, and pick
Mhm.
up a book. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
we want to increase the practice of reading from a book.
That's excellent.
So, you know, we tell
Absolutely.
our kids to read, but I think if we modeled that behavior more, we would see more success and increases
Yeah.
in the reading levels.
You're absolutely right. You know, the studies have shown that the more you read, the smarter you get.
Yeah.
That is absolute science. That is
Yeah,
scientific. And
it
so
becomes
that's what
even
we
more.
always,
And for me,
I'm sorry.
I want to first say it's good to hear your voice and to be here on your show as well. But I think what made me think about the comment, is it Miss Woodford?
Dr. Woodford.
Dr. Woodford.
Hmm.
What Dr. Woodford said is so critical because most people don't realize that 14,000 books by Black authors have been banned in the
Oh
last five
yeah. Oh
years. And
yeah. They
so
don't want to even
when
have
you,
folks to read or
that's
read
right.
what we write.
So when she mentioned of turning off devices and turning off the TVs and reading, we've got to remind our children of Baldwin and
Oh
Zora Neale
yeah.
Hurston,
Oh
and
yeah.
these are
Yeah.
books that are
Yeah.
critical. So I want to just say thank you to Dr. Woodford for bringing that up because reading is essential and it's something that with Chat GPT and with the internet and AI, I mean, we're moving further away from reading.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
important. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
and with
and you're hearing that
time,
from Daniel Blackman, who is a Democrat running for the Public Service Commission.
yes, exactly. And we need more Mr. Black to get into the race. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your willingness to serve in this capacity. But again, I just wanted to call in and invite your listeners in those neighborhoods, especially to join in on this
And
movement.
the date.
Date is April 29th. And we are also partnering with Middle Georgia Regional Library, who will have their
Yeah.
mobile van in the parking lot of L.H. Williams on April 28th from 2:30 to 6:30,
Okay,
and
so
on
that's
April
Monday.
that's that's Monday, yes, and
Uh-huh.
then Tuesday, April 29th from 8 to 12, and then the Shirling branch of the library will be setting up at um, on the campus of Burdell Hunt Elementary from
Uh, yeah.
2:30 to 5:30.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people just have to walk down to the school, or parents, if they're picking up their kids, we hope they
Yeah.
will get out of the car and check out a book and be prepared for the evening of Tuesday, April 29th from 7 to 7:30. Let's all
Okay.
join in and read a book.
All right, that is wonderful. I just think that this is a wonderful thing to do. There are many, many people who, because they're so busy all the time,
Right.
they've given up something as important as reading and reading to their children
Yeah.
from babies, little babies. It makes a difference. Your children
Yeah.
can actually read as babies because if they pass by
Yes.
a McDonald's and they see the arches, they can say
That's right.
McDonald's. That is what reading is about. When you
Yes.
can look at something and know what it is, that is early reading. So, parents, y'all, there's so many things that you can do that you don't think you can do.
Hmm.
Um, okay, we've got
Great.
several announcements. The host sources invite up to 10 guests. Copy invite link.
Hmm.
Um, No, I'm not supposed to be reading that. Our engineer is coming out laughing at me because he knows I don't know what that is, and I'm just reading here. At least I can read, y'all, and it is fundamental, very important. Dr. Woodford, thank you so very much for calling
Thank
in.
you.
And we hope that the communities take advantage. Do you have a flyer, leaflet, anything that you're gonna
Yes, yes, ma'am. We
well,
do,
please share
and
that.
we
Have
post
someone
it
to
in
put that
our
on
social.
Facebook so we can share it every day and encourage people to participate because reading is so important.
Yeah, and let me say one last thing. So, we want to see images of people doing this activity. So we're going to set up a hashtag where folks can post the book they're reading, the title and the theme, and
Oh, that's
pictures
great.
of the families reading together, or the parent taking a picture of the child reading, or the child taking a picture of the family reading. We just
Yeah.
want to increase the practice of reading.
We do. We do. And thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for the work that you do, making sure our children learn in the
Ma'am,
best
yes,
possible
ma'am, it's my
environment
honor.
from your work on the school board.
Thank you. It's my honor, and good luck to your guests, and best wishes to you. And thank you for
All,
your service.
Thank
all
you.
right. Thank you very much. What you think of that?
I think it's great. I think anytime we can have robust conversation, it's really important for us to get back to education and scholarship in our communities because I don't think it takes a Trump administration to motivate folks to build community and communities, areas like Macon and, Augusta, Savannah, these places need more of these conversations.
That's right.
As an alum of Clark Atlanta University, I'll say this really quickly. At one point, Clark Atlanta graduated more librarians in the country than any other institution. We
Oh, really?
75% of the nation's librarians at one point came out of Clark Atlanta. And
Oh,
so
my.
when you think of librarians of color and how we traditionally have moved away from libraries, I mean, it's very important. I mean, to see this conversation, to see the interaction online, and to get that kind of information to Dr. Woodford, thank you. And, it's really good. It's refreshing.
All right. My sister Nita says hello to everybody and our guests. And she's sending birthday wishes to the senator. Senator's birthday is today.
Okay.
And I woke up, I remembered. And so I wished him a happy birthday. I'm going to take him for his favorite dinner
Okay.
at Red Lobster. He likes the most expensive thing on the
Uh,
menu, but I mean, anyway, he enjoys it. But we'll be wishing him happy birthday. We were kind of expecting him to join in
yeah.
because he's looking forward to talking with you. And by the way, those of you who want to meet Mr. Blackman, he will stay around at the end of the show. He's going to stay around for just a few minutes
Yeah.
in the parking lot behind the studio, and he'll be glad to greet you and to
Absolutely.
get your information if you're interested in working with his campaign. It's obvious you've heard from him. You know that he's qualified. Well, I mean, black folks who run for office usually are overqualified anyway, but you know he's got the qualification. You can just tell that from his conversation. And every topic that people have brought up, he's chimed in and given us valuable information on that. And it makes good sense to me. Pastor Lisa says happy birthdays to Senator Lucas, who just started his 50th year
Wow.
in the legislature. And last I heard, he wasn't going anywhere. Even though
That's
folks
that's what you
say,
call a marathon.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Some of y'all others get ready, and so that you're ready to serve. Um, my sister Nita says that's great, and we've got the link, the information to your site
That's right.
on here. Pastor Lisa says, "Read, lead, and succeed." Let's see. I don't want to read that because that's what the host told me not to read. But we want to welcome Erica White, who has joined us. And she says we encourage the parents to take their children to the public library. Too, their libraries are not like they used to be. They have the latest technology. They have reading materials in Braille, and they have the talking materials that and Wayne Horton uses a lot of, because he's blind, and he uses a lot of the newest technology for people. So even if you have a disability, there are things that you can take advantage of that help you to remain a part of society and not give up and not do anything, because there's value in everybody. There is value. Now, we've been talking about the upcoming election. Upcoming election is June the 17th.
That's right.
For Public Service Commission. However, early voting starts 3 weeks prior to that.
We're about 40 days
which
out
is
from early voting.
Right, right. About mid-May, we're going to start early voting. So I'm assuming we're going to have those same early voting sites here in Macon Bibb, the main office out at the Macon Mall, and then also at the Senior Citizen Center down in Carolyn Creighton Park. So I am hoping that you will take notice and that this program will kind of get you into the mindset that you're absolutely going to vote and vote every election. I'm impressed with this young man here. I think I voted for you before.
Yes, ma'am. I would hope so.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Well, when we ran the
yeah.
last time, we won the primary by 77%. We did very well in the contested primary, but I've always been an advocate for these issues, and I think it's important. And you said it earlier, folks can't just throw their name on the ballot. We need to know what their track record is, what their commitment is, and what they stand for. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak here today.
It's good having you here. And y'all remember that at 4 o'clock, we will be off the air. We'll finish the program. If you want to ride through the parking lot at the back of the radio station that's at the corner of Napier and Pound Avenue and meet Mr. Blackman, he would be so pleased to meet you, to chit chat with you for a few minutes, because I know he has some other appointment set up, but we do want to give you an opportunity if you want to ride through and speak with him. Hildred Jones has joined us, and we welcome her. Pastor Lisa Watson has joined us. It is 2627 Napier Avenue is the address for the parking area where candidate Blackman will be. Pastor Lisa can vote early at the Elaine Huckabee Lucas Senior Center. Thank you, Pastor Lisa.
That's good information.
Yeah. And good afternoon to you, Hildred Jones, and all the others. Wade Horton, who's joined us. And thank you so very much for being here. This is Ask Elaine, and we're happy to be on AM, FM, and on the Glory Live. Dr. Woodford wishes Senator Lucas a happy birthday. We are planning a community-wide celebration later on, probably midsummer, in honor of Senator Lucas and the number of years that he served us and continues to serve us. And you will be hearing more about that. It'll be outside in a park.
Okay.
Where people can bring their lawn chairs, listen to music, get some Carlton Kitchen shaved ice, some of these hot dogs, sausage, hamburgers, all that sort of stuff. and enjoy music, and the kiddies can play in one of our beautiful parks. We just want to have an outside event and have people to
I
drop
love
in
that.
just to say hello, and for Senator to say to them how much he appreciates
Yeah,
the years that they've allowed him to serve them. And he serves well now. He's
that's
not
good.
scared.
That's
Are
good.
you scared, Mr. Blackman?
Of what?
Look, that's
Let me
the
tell you
right
something. My
answer.
father was a
Tell
United
us
States
about it.
Army Ranger. My grandfather was a diplomat to the United Nations. My family's from Barbados. And I was not only raised, but my mentors were Reverend C.T. Vivian,
Oh,
Reverend
oh,
Joseph
yeah,
Lowry,
yeah. You're not
James
scared.
Orange is nothing to be
You're not
afraid of.
scared.
Yeah, they prepared me
you,
well.
yes, yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. If you have a question, if you want to call in, the call in number is 478 We would be glad to have you to call if you have a question about the public service. Tell us what the Public Service Commission does. A lot of people aren't aware of it. That's why
Yeah,
a lot of people don't vote
that's right.
in things that they're not
Exactly.
familiar with. So tell us what the Public
voter
Service
voter
Commission
education is
does.
paramount, and it should be called the Public Utility Commission. But
Yeah,
because it's called the Public Service Commission, most people don't even think like, what does that have to do with anything I do?
right,
Five
right.
commissioners that are elected statewide, regardless of region. So, for example, I'm running in District 3, which is the metro Atlanta area. It's Fulton, DeKalb, and Clayton. And that particular seat is a statewide election. So you can vote in any public service commission that you have. Those five commissioners determine your light bill, your energy rates. Georgia has the fifth highest energy burden in the United States. So to put this into context, right? In West Virginia, they have number one. They pay $690 per month for their utility bills. In Georgia, we're paying roughly $570 per month on our utilities, right?
And water bills are
And
going up,
that's
y'all. I
right.
keep telling y'all.
And so the Public Service Commission is the regulatory body of how utilities from Georgia Power and from other companies such as a MEAG or an EMC, the Public Service Commission hears cases. They are presented with rate increases and different projects that deal with
Mhm,
infrastructure. So think
mhm.
nuclear plant Vogtle, think the data centers. When you get your bill, right, regardless of who your utility company is, most people don't get what's called an itemized bill.
Right.
So you're not just paying for turn the light off and turn the light off. You're not just paying for charging your phone. You're paying for fuel costs, construction. You're paying for fuel. You're paying for transportation. There are multiple factors that go into how your bill is paid, and it's one of those races that traditionally is so far down the ballot that we
Yeah,
stop checking
yeah.
halfway through. This is the first time it's at the top of the ballot, and I
Uh-huh.
think it's a great opportunity for folks. Look, the way we like to say it is take your utility bill to the ballot, right? If your bill is too
Right.
high, then you need to
That's
make
right.
sure that you raise your voice and you make your concern known, because
Right.
senior citizens on a fixed income, when those utility rates go up, six utility increases in the last 7 years. A senior
6.
citizen on a fixed income
Yeah.
doesn't get a pay increase.
Yeah.
That fixed income is fixed. So when those utility bills go up, those men and women, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, our grandparents, they got to pay those bills, and they
Mhm.
shouldn't have to choose between their light bill and their medication.
Yeah. Something that I found out the last time there was a Public Service Commission race was that the Public Service Commission also has some oversight in the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and how widespread it is, the availability
Yeah,
of internet. Can you talk about that? Because
I can.
Georgia needs to do more.
Georgia has to do more. I mean, look, when we go back to COVID and you talk about telemedicine, you talk about broadband access, work from home, and remote work. These are areas that structurally they need leadership. The Public Service Commission, while it does not necessarily regulate bandwidth, it plays a critical role in infrastructure and development that actually impacts that. So when you
Mhm.
look at states like Georgia and you look at our rural communities, there are some areas where you can't even get access to the internet unless you're at a
Right.
public location. Emergency services are critical. We talk about seniors. What happens when you need to get your mobile services or your internet services to access emergency response. When
Mm-hmm.
storms hit this part of the state, we need to be able to recover. And some people don't even live in proximity to a hospital,
That's
right?
right.
So it's
That's right.
important. But here's another one that most people don't think about: eminent domain. There's a
Mm-hmm.
black family in Sandersville, Georgia,
Yeah.
right now, and the
Yeah.
Public Service Commission has voted to give a private-owned rail company
That's right.
access to land that has been in their family for over
That's
100
right.
years from the Civil Rights era, and it is being taken because of a
Mm-hmm.
vote by 5 members of the Public Service
And they're
Commission.
gonna cut that railroad, put that railroad, that spur down across those folks' land.
That's
It's
right.
gonna lower the value of
Diminish
their
it.
property. It says you don't have control of your own property. And because this is black families with land in black families, that is especially acute
It's
for
heartbreaking.
us.
And if I can say this really quickly,
Yes.
in 1906, black folks owned around 16.5 million acres of land in the United States. 16.5 million acres. As of 1997, we've lost 97% of that. So in 100
Yeah.
years, we went from 16.5 million acres to under 2 million acres. And that number steadily through heirs, properties, and different tactics they use through agriculture to take our land, that number may even go under a million in the next
Right.
decade. And we
Right.
can't afford to give up, lose, or compromise our ability
We
to own
sure
land.
can. We've got some questions here, and then we're going to put Desmond Brown on. Erica White asks, are there any Democrats currently serving on the Public Service
There
Commission?
are not. There have only been one. There's only been one Democrat in the last 20 years. His name was David Burgess. David was appointed by
A
Roy
Democratic
Barnes.
governor. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so since Roy Barnes, we have not had a public service commission. Matter of fact, if I would have won the election previously, I would have been the first statewide constitutionally elected Democrat since Roy Barnes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's too long. But you have 5 Republicans. Three of the five are appointed, and they weren't elected.
And they vote in favor of folks with money already.
That's right.
They just stay the course and vote for the folks already with money. And we sit and we won't even vote in the election.
Yep.
And so, and then we say, oh, they're going to do what they want to do. You darn right.
That's because we
Yeah.
allow them to.
Yeah. We allow them
Yeah.
to. If more of us had voted in this past election for president, 10,000 here and there there would have been a different outcome in that
Well, Kamala
presidential
only lost,
race.
Vice President Harris only lost Georgia by 115,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's 10,000 in Macon that
Yeah.
didn't vote, 10,000 in Columbus, in
That's
your,
right.
your
That's right.
city, 10,000 in Augusta, 10,000 here, 10,000 there. And we could have made that up. And
That's right.
Kamala would have been the recipient of the electoral votes for the state of Georgia. Let's see. We're going to answer these questions. Then we got to go to Desmond. Does PSC deal with issues of eminent domain? Yeah, he just responded to that. Yes. My son wants to know, what is the first objective for you when elected?
The first objective is to build a strong apparatus around transparency and education, because let me be very clear to your listeners. The day I get there, your light bill is not going to go down.
Right.
We need to get 2 more commissioners elected to be able to reverse the way in which we set utility rates in Georgia.
Mhm.
What will happen is, number one, I know there's not one of your listeners or one person making that has ever been to a Public Service Commission town hall. And we need to make sure that even though my district will be Fulton, DeKalb, and Clayton, I'm going to do a series of regional town halls around the state of Georgia.
Good.
We have
Sounds
159 counties, and we need to break that up into 10 or 15 regions where we can actually say we will come throughout the year and we will be present. Number two, the votes of the public service commissioners are not public record, and we need to change that.
What?
So I'm going to
I
lobby,
didn't know
and
that.
I'm going to lobby our state legislative body to add transparency, because one, we need to know who they're meeting with, right? And we need to know how they're voting. And the third part that I think is really critical is I will make sure, whether it's through a newsletter or committing to coming on your show quarterly or whatever we need to do, we need to make sure that when votes happen, y'all know about it.
Yeah.
Right. If the data centers come into Georgia and increase your bill
we
by
got
20%,
one in Monroe County.
there you go.
One that's coming,
And
and we
folks
got to
need to know.
provide water
That's
and
right.
other stuff.
The amount of water extraction and the amount of energy it takes overburdens communities, and those companies never pay for it. The burden for ratepayers is to pay for corporate for the corporations that are extracting our energy,
That's
using
right.
our land, and taking money out of our pockets.
That's why I'm fighting for these folks to on the water board, and along with Desmond, we're fighting for you not to have all these rate increases dumped on you for the repairs that have to be made. We need to sell our private hunting club. You know, our water board has a private hunting club. Yes, we do. We have one of those. And we've got pecan orchards. We've got, and I know some of them are listening. So, y'all, yeah, I'm telling all of it. Everything I find out. You got to have somebody sitting at the table to get the information. A lot of it is held from the public. But as an elected member of that, you get the information that everybody else gets.
Right.
And then that person can bring that information to the public, can make a difference. But if we don't ever get anybody on these boards, if we don't increase the numbers of elected people on the water board, on the school board, on all of these other boards, on the Public Service Commission, we'll never be able to make a change. We're going to go ahead. Desmond Brown serves with me as a member of the Macon Water Authority. Desmond, welcome to Ask Elaine. We have Mr. Daniel Blackman, who is a Democrat running for the Public Service Commission.
How you doing, sir?
Outstanding, Mr. Blackman. Listen, welcome to Macon, man, and I'm grateful for you for having the courage to put your hat in the race. But I have two questions for you. Having had a daughter that attended Fort Valley State University, it came to my attention that Fort Valley, the city of Fort Valley, has their own utility commission, and I want to know, will you be over local commissioners like Fort Valley Utility Commission? Is that what your seat will be over?
Yeah, to answer your question, first of all, we will not. So the way the Public Service Commission works is they are they are an overseer of statewide utility, but those independent bodies. So, like for example, if you have an EMC or you have a utility company that's managed by Fort Valley, right? The way we impact them is when we set utility regulatory policy or when we have rate increases, it disproportionately affects those smaller communities. So, for example, if it's not Georgia Power, I know folks in Albany right now paying more in smaller homes than folks are paying in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. So what we can do is we can help create policies and integrate it. So there's something called an integrated resources plan that is presented and proposed and then voted on by the Public Service Commission, but it's presented by Georgia Power and as a utility company, right? We can look at how energy burden doesn't disproportionately affect counties and communities outside of the purview of those. So, for example, when Plant Vogtle was developed, for example, every single county, city, every town was impacted by Plant Vogtle being 7.5 years behind schedule and $15 billion over budget. It wasn't just Georgia Power customers. It was the shared impact of utility companies around the state. So I know it's not the answer you would like, because I would love to come in and help to clean up shop in some of these areas. But the reality is the commission focuses on the general impact of Georgia as it relates to base load, utility regulation, and investment.
Okay, my second question then, with all of the advertisement that I'm receiving for solar panels to go on top of the home, the roof, do you think solar powered homes are causing ratepayers like us who don't have solar power, our rates to increase?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a combination. So for those that don't know or may not have heard, I have a federal background. I was appointed by President Biden. So I served in the Biden-Harris administration for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
We helped to implement the largest environmental investment in the history of this country, $1.2 trillion.
Yes, you did.
$1.2 trillion, including Justice 40, which was a 40% federal initiative to hit marginalized communities based on requirements of impact. So to answer your question about solar, we don't invest in enough solar infrastructure in our state.
Right.
So you think about it in three ways. Number one, that IRP that I mentioned, the integrated resources plan doesn't include solar. So if Georgia Power says we want to just increase our capacity on fossil fuel facilities and infrastructure, that's what they'll do. If we don't demand solar, we won't get solar. Number two, when you look at communities, especially in black and brown neighborhoods, a lot of times if you're not a homeowner, if you're a renter, those homes aren't weatherized.
Right.
Those apartment buildings don't have access to solar, and solar actually can allow the amount of money you pay to actually be saved, because that's why we are big on community solar initiatives. Because when you look at like Solarize Athens, for example, they were able to build an apparatus in place to leverage solar to lower bills, but also for folks to be able to, like there are people in Atlanta that can utilize alternative energy, and Georgia Power will buy back power from them. Right. So
Yeah.
there are various ways to do it. And lastly, solar is it just makes sense, right? I mean, when you think
It
of
does.
where we're going economically, rural Georgia has more sun than Germany. And if Germany can lead the world in many areas with solar,
Yeah.
middle Georgia, where
Yeah.
the sun just hits and
Yeah.
all that open land, we need
Right.
to increase the capacity and make sure that we can save folks money.
Right. A lot of people don't know, but Macon Bibb has invested. They've gone into a contract, entered into a contract with a solar company. And I think there's some local people who are involved with the ownership of that company. And they have placed solar panels on a number of the governmental buildings. And they not only have reduced the cost of the power, the energy generated, but they've kind of set the standard for a few other places. Unfortunately, it's not widespread
Well, and
enough.
if I can share this really quickly, think of the irony in what you just said, right? These federal buildings, military bases, Fort Benning, right, is leading the country with military bases for solar. But we're not investing those same federal funds that come into the state of Georgia through state revolving funds. Why not take a third of that or a fourth of that and allow communities like in Macon Bibb or any other area in Houston County? Why not leverage the federal funding, right? Because what's happening is on large scale commercial buildings and on facilities, we're seeing the investment. But when it comes to homes, when it comes to communities and neighborhoods, we're not seeing it.
Yeah, people, that's why a program like Ask Elaine is so important, y'all, because we talk about real stuff. We talk about what's going to save you some money. We were talking about EMCs the last couple of weeks. We had Miss Opie with the Georgia Conservation Voters, and she talked about how people should be getting either a check or a credit on their utilities by getting active and finding out what's going on with their EMC and go run for one of those positions. And exactly. So we want to share this kind of information. We want you to take it seriously. Erica White says she didn't realize there was an upcoming election. She says she will be sure to share this information with all of her Facebook friends statewide and encourage them to do the same. She says, I will do my best to make as many people aware of it as I can. And that's what we need. Everybody who's tuned in today, all those on AM 980, those on FM. Rhonda Bird is with us. That's the president of the Drive Time group, isn't it, Desmond? And what is the program she does? She has a program and stuff that she does. But anyway, she's on watching. But we need everybody to make everybody else aware. You might not think it's important, but things like this are very, very important. Now, the other thing that we've got to do is to elect more Democrats to office, because Democrats are people friendly. They work on behalf of their advocates of clean energy, of fairness, of lower rates, and all that sort of stuff. Trump is making an absolute mess of the United States, and in turn is going to make an absolute mess of this world if we don't get him out of there, or we don't nullify his actions. And we can nullify him and all these other Republicans that are out there looking out for the guys and women who have money. It doesn't make sense to take from the poor and give to the rich. and you leave the poor just hanging out there. That's what Republicans do, and that's what they do on the Public Service Commission. Georgia Power steps up there and says, I want so much of this and that and the other, and they say, okay, sir or madam, we will give you almost everything you ask for, but just so we can save face, we won't give you everything, but we'll give you an extra fee that you can charge on folks.
And there are no campaign limits for giving, right? I mean, if you look at my race, for example, we're capped off at, for example, $8,000. You can contribute up to that amount on our race.
Mhm.
However, the utility company itself, they're actually funding these campaigns.
Oh,
My
of course.
opponent, the gentleman that has taken the land in Sandersville through eminent domain, has funded two of the candidates that are currently running based on the way they voted with the eminent domain, and that is a conflict of political interest.
So one of the railroad guys,
yes,
Tarbutton,
I don't
Tarbutton,
know.
yeah, that's is
they're
running
mm-hmm.
for public.
No. He's not running for Public Service Commission. The gentleman that I'm running against receives campaign contributions.
Oh, I see.
From the folks that own the railroad.
Get me straight.
Yeah,
get me straight. I was about to go off on that. Okay, well, anyway, Des, you have to
say he's so knowledgeable, Commissioner. He is so knowledgeable, and what he just did is he has blown the whistle on these local public utility corporations in Middle Georgia that now we know to elect the right people locally to assist him once he gets in office.
Well, now I know who I'm supporting. I'm a Democrat. I'm going to vote for this man, this gentleman, this very knowledgeable gentleman sitting right here. Now,
absolutely,
I can't tell others who to vote for, but I sure can recommend who I think Pastor Lisa says you have her support. You got her. You got all the stuff here. Yeah. But the problem is going to be people sit up and they say, "Oh, I'm going to go vote. I support. I didn't know all this," but you got to put it into action.
Yeah. And not only
go ahead.
I'm sorry. You
finish. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, not only put it into action, we got to go to these meetings. When folks say they want to run for EMC, when people have, the information that he just shared about Fort Valley Utilities, we need to find out when these meetings are, because here's what they do. They schedule these meetings in Atlanta at 9:00 in the morning. When folks that are working their jobs can't make it.
Right.
And by the time you can make it, you got to travel 2 hours just to go to a meeting. And if you look at Fort Valley, for example, the fact that there are utility leaders that we just don't know if you look at a mayor or city council, we can identify them.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about utility commissioners, we don't know what they look like. We don't know if they're Democrat, Republican. We don't know anything. Do they live here? Do they not live here? So I just want to encourage folks, even with your support, hold me accountable. These are 6-year terms. And guess what the salary is? $140,000. These individuals are making 6-figure salaries that are taxpayer funded. And they're going and making decisions, not in your interest as paying their salary, but their salaries are comparable to lieutenant governor and secretary of state. We have
because the Congress people make 170 something.
There you go.
So look at PSC, 140,000. The mayor of Macon makes 100,000. So just look at that. That is a recipe and we need to get some different people on the Public Service Commission. We don't pay enough attention to it, but we are bringing on Ask Elaine. We are bringing this information to you. We are presenting a wonderful candidate for you to consider. Pastor Lisa is already in the house. Patrick Davis is our statistics person, and he says, when is early voting for the PSC primary election? Early voting starts, let's see.
I believe it's May
24th, 24th, I believe it is.
It's either the 24th or the 27th is early voting.
Right. And so we will get those exact dates.
And a point of reference as well, because I want people to understand there are municipal elections this year as well. We cannot look past our municipals, and some of these municipal elections are happening separate, right? And that's another trick that a lot of these state election officials they do, right? Instead of us having the same locations to do a municipal and other, they're having different spaces. So when municipal elections happen, for example, during the general, there are separate dates for municipal elections than the general election. So we have to make sure that we're paying attention to their tricks and their games. We got to show up. It's not just for me. You got to show up for your local races. You got to show up every election we have, every runoff we have. They're expecting voter turnout to be low. And
That's right.
here's what I will tell all of you. If you look at what you just mentioned about the elections mattering and coming to the polls this year, everybody's focused on John Ossoff and the governor next year.
Yeah.
Well, if we build an apparatus this year, all those Democrats you're talking about that should have a chance to win, there is no launch pad. If we go from Kamala to not being able to have any kind of success with Vice President Harris having been on the ballot, we need to win this year to give a level of expectation and hope to folks that are frustrated with what they're currently seeing.
Now, other folks know this. They know that Georgia is so deep purple. I mean, we are purple. This state is experiencing a lot of growth in population. Right. And the folks that are coming in are not your old Southern Democrat folks. These are progressive folks that are moving into this state. Black and brown folks and moderates, people who are liberal. This state is getting a lot of progressive people moving in. So the Republicans are so scared. They are so scared because they know the facts. They know what Georgia looks like. And so if we just realize how our numbers have grown, how the number of female voters is huge, just exploding.
That's right.
And Trump is helping the Democratic, but he's helping us, y'all, because he's put enough other folks out of work that they now realize they made the wrong choice. So they are picketing. Have you seen all of these different protests? You got more white folks protesting than you do black folks. And we're asking them, what took y'all so long? You had to lose a few jobs, didn't you? And then they're cutting off the food stamps. More of them get food stamps. They're cutting off the medical health insurance, trying to keep them from getting Obamacare. So they're finally waking up. More of them are out picketing than us because there are more of them that receive these services. So we need to get it together.
We do.
We don't need to take any of this stuff for granted. We need to be serious about this. And these young folks that talk about y'all old folks get out of the way and let us lead, y'all step up and get registered to vote and lead.
That's right.
Show us that you are ready to lead and do something alongside us, and then we can pass this baton off. Otherwise, we'll be spinning our wheels.
Yeah, and I think one thing we have to realize is that everyone is not going to be a candidate. So to your point about registering to vote, 7 million Democrats stayed home this previous election. Number is actually 7.2 million. We could have won this past year if just a half of that number came out. And so what we have to do is, number one, in rural areas, a lot of times the challenges that we face with young people is that they don't want to remain in the place they've grown up, whether it's because of economic opportunity or a lack thereof. We've got to encourage them that if you don't like what you see in Macon, if you don't like what you see in Savannah or in Columbus, then you can help to fix it by voting and making sure the people that get elected into these offices are actually contributing to the investment, the development, and the progress of where you live. But the second part about that is with young people is, I grew up in a different era where I had to sit up under somebody, right? I mean, I was volunteering for clergy organizations and civic organizations, not having a chance to speak, not knowing how to tie a tie. But I sat there long enough for the opportunity that when they said, "Here, what do you have to say?" It was important. And I learned this from Governor Deval Patrick, who was the former governor of Massachusetts. He said one time there was a protest of his office for about 20 days straight. And he said he finally walked by the young people and he said, "You know what? You've been protesting me for almost a month. Come into my office and let's talk." They went into the office and Governor Patrick says to them, "So what is it that I can do for you? How can I help you?" And he said they didn't have an answer. So to every young person that's out there, this isn't critical. Be willing to be registered, be
Yeah,
willing to be active,
yeah,
and know exactly what you're fighting for, so that when somebody says, okay, well, we need you to step up and come to the city hall meeting,
right.
know what you're going to say, right? We need to make sure
Right.
they have that. That's
That's absolutely right. Desmond,
All right.
thank
Desmond.
you.
Um,
Yeah.
we need to invite everybody to come. First of all, they need to get registered to vote if they're not already, because you still got time. And then be ready to vote, because we're gonna be talking every week about the elections that are coming up. We will have flyers that we'll post on my Facebook page, and we'll also
On mine
post
as
it
well.
here, encouraging people to get their act together. That's what we need to
That's right.
say. Get your act together. Don't complain. Get it together. Um, and then we need to have people to attend the meetings of your water board, of your transit authority, of your
Yeah.
commission, your planning and zoning. All of these folks run your life. You say you're independent. All these folks run your life on a daily basis. When they meet, they make decisions. It becomes a part of the rules, and you have to follow. And Trump is getting ready. He sent the Hispanic folks over to El Salvador, and you know what he's talking about? The what are they? Homegrown,
Yeah, home. Yeah.
homegrown. He's talking about black and brown folks, y'all. He got the. He's talking about black and brown folks, and so they've got a plan for us. So let's not sit around and let it happen. We have got to get up and start doing stuff. Stop listening to people who are downing other people because they don't like them, or because they're where they like to be. They're just jealous. They need to get
That's
over
right.
that. We need to work together to get stuff done.
That's right.
And so I that's all we can say.
Yeah.
Ask Elaine is about empowering the folks in our community, and we can get empowered. Now, I'm gonna hush because we've only got about a minute or so, unless the engineer gives us like about 5 more. Uh, for you to do your closing
Yeah.
remarks. And this is Daniel Blackman, a Democratic candidate for Public Service Commission.
So first and foremost, I want to say, thank you for inviting me to come down
It's our
here.
pleasure.
My website is daniel4georgia@gmail.com. That is DANIELFOR, not the number, but FOR Georgia, GEORGIA at .com. So daniel4georgia.com. Here's what's important for everyone that's listening. This race is so critical because we have put ourselves in a position where literally the amount of money we're paying on our utility bills is impeding the ability for us to save money on our utility bills. I mean, save money in our bank accounts.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest disparities, just to put this into perspective, is there are 11 million people in Georgia. 2.7 million of those folks have Georgia Power. The black population in Georgia is only 30%, but we're 70% of the disconnections. So when
Oh,
you
yeah,
look at disconnection, impact, the challenges we face, this is a race that's a pocketbook issue that we cannot afford to sit out of. So I
absolutely.
encourage people to look me up and look, starting with this race, look at the qualifications of an individual, look at what they're saying, record these shows, share these shows, and go back to them halfway into a person's term, because this is a 6-year term.
Hmm.
2 years in, you should be able to say, Mr. Blackman, you came down in Macon on this date. You said this, this, and that, and we
Yeah,
need to know what the status is.
right, right,
And that should be contingent. Everyone should sign a community covenant to let them know that I'm going to be present, I'm going to be available, and at the very least, we'll do it virtual. But you're not going to have to worry about where'd the guy go. I've
right.
been here. I'm going to continue to stay here, and I'll be throughout the state for a very long time, making sure that we get the right people elected.
I am so impressed with him, and I'm voting for him. I usually go the first day of early voting down to the Senior Citizen Center. That's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to be encouraging everybody to vote. Everybody, please vote. And so at least we can make a dent, a little bit of a dent, a start toward more transparency and better representation. We've got to do better. And Patrick has some great information on his post about the judgeships, those elections for judgeships where we have the same people who are elected without opposition over and over and over again, and we still get the same results, and we sit up and fuss and we look and we say, why don't they do something? Well, we got to do something. We've got to do something. That's Ask Elaine for today. Thank you, Desmond.
Elaine. This
Thank
is
you,
No
powerful.
Mr.
problem.
Sutton.
Y'all vote.
All right. Yeah. We want to thank you for tuning in this week to Ask Elaine. If you want to drop by for the next maybe 5 or 10 minutes and meet Mr. Blackman, who is a candidate for the Public Service Commission, please do. 2627 Napier Avenue is the address. It's the parking lot behind WDDO, historic WDDO. So we look to see you. We'll be in the parking lot for about 10 minutes. Shake your hand. Thank you so much for tuning in to Ask Elaine, and we'll see you again next Wednesday at 3 for another edition of Elaine.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry.